Welcome to On the Line. Today we got a very, very, very special guest. This is someone I've always wanted to talk to. He is a former NBA player. He is a current Celtics analyst and co-host of Scal and Pals podcast. He is the people's goat. He is the white mamba, the big ginger, the vanilla Godzilla, the veal scallopini. It's Brian Scalabrine. What is up, man?
Yeah, no, things are good. Weather's starting to change. Like the NBA playoffs are about to kick off. So typically this happens a month ago. We're a little bit month behind because of
Yeah.
like the pandemic, COVID, all that stuff. But I'm really excited about this year's basketball, and I also play in the Big Three, so I also got to get geared up for the Big Three, which will start in about 2 months from now.
Yeah, I was about to ask. You're about to get back into it. Is this your third year now doing it, or is this year two?
This will be
I
no, this will
completely
be year
slipped.
4. In taking the one
Year
year off that we didn't
4.
do last year, so 4 years. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. That's how fun is that?
it's fun because
Go.
I can't replicate that high level intensity. We can't. I'm not even now when I play pickup. I'm not playing pickup basketball in front of 10,000 people or anything like that. And the games are super competitive. Some of the guys are like retired players that have been in the league for a long time, like me. But some of these guys are still making a name for themselves. Some of these guys are still playing overseas. So it's really good throughout the year. It keeps me accountable. Like you can't skip workouts. You got to make sure you're doing your mobility and all that, just to make sure that you could. For me to survive at 43, to survive a season playing against all these young guys, it's tough. So I like, we're all humans that like love to be held accountable to bigger things. And for me to be not embarrass myself and to be able to hold my own and not get hurt, I got to stay on top of it 365 days a year.
Who's the guy that shocks you the most with like how athletic they still are at like an older age?
Joe Johnson. Joe Johnson. I heard like his last 10 years of the
Ageless wonder.
NBA. Yeah, he never he was doing yoga, and he was doing yoga 6 days a week. He shot every day, he stretched every day, he did everything he needed to do, and you could tell like the aging curve is really slow for him. Another one is Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. He was formerly Chris Jackson, now he's Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. He was 50, still getting buckets at 50, and he struggled a little bit like defensively because he was smaller, but he was still like cross guys over, hit him with step backs, sort of Steph Curry like, even at 50 years old. Very impressive.
Some people never lose it. It's just one of those things. If you got a jump shot, it lasts a long time.
Yeah, and the guy works out all the time.
And that also helps too. So, and you kind of hinted at it a little earlier about the pickup basketball thing. I do really want to talk about this because this was awesome. So before we get into the story itself, how often do like these punk kids come up to you thinking that they can beat you one on one?
So so first of all, let's back it up first. Like people want to ask me to play one-on-one all the time. And wouldn't you want to know where you stand like with a former NBA player? And you're probably not thinking you're going to win, but you think like, man, it would be like, let me get my chance, right? And by the way, the only thing I wouldn't do like with football, right? I don't think no one in their right mind thinks like, oh, I could tackle that guy if I got a chance. No one thinks that, but I would love to sit in there and try to hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. I would love to try to return a serve from a professional tennis player. Like those are all things I'm intrigued, but nowhere along the lines would I think that I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it at a good clip, right? It's just not the way that I think, because I understand that work that goes into that. The difference between this one kid, and this happens all the time to me, but the difference between this one kid was like he really thought he was going to win. Like this, I didn't really want to play. I was coming back, like my back was a little bit tight, and I didn't really want to play, but he was like really going at my head. Like, you're scared, you're this, you're that. So then, like for me to play 11 years in the NBA, I had to have like a switch that I could flip and go into a zone that, like it's probably not a healthy place to live, but I could do it, and I have to do it at times, right? So playing in the Big Three.
Yeah.
But for with him, like the amount of the trash that he was talking to me, I've never experienced that from a kid before. I always experience a lot of respect. Hey, Mr. Scalabrine, can we play one-on-one? I just want to see where I stand. I've never seen I'm going to bust your ass. You watch this right now. Like, you can't hold me. You too old. You too slow. You weren't even good when you were an NBA player. So in that point, I had my kids there, my son and my daughter. I kind of had to show them up. I didn't want to. I had to.
Can't put the disrespect in a name.
Nah.
Can't have that disrespect.
No, I had to draw the line. That was, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't really want to do it. I didn't know if my back was going to hold up or anything like that. But there is, things that you have to do and things that you want to do. That was definitely a have to. I have to do this. I don't want to do it, but I have to do it.
Oh, 100%. And so then you said something that might have been like maybe the hardest quote I have seen in the past like 5 years when you told the kid, I'm closer to LeBron James than you are to me. Is that something you've been holding on to? Or was that like a spur of the moment? Like, I gotta say this.
Nah, that's the truth. I mean,
It is
I've
the
graced the
truth.
courts. I've graced the courts with the best there is. Like, when I was in college, I went to Michael Jordan's basketball camp. Michael Jordan picked me up on his team, and he wanted me on his team all week. I played against Paul Pierce one-on-one probably over 3,000 possessions. So like the gap between me and those guys is a lot closer than you to me. Like, I don't know if I'll score on those guys. Probably I wouldn't score on those guys, but like I'm getting better shots off than that guy. There's no question.
Yeah, and like you also in terms of like the build, you have the fundamentals, everything there. You're so much better than like a casual guy you'll see playing like at the YMCA. There's just
Yeah.
and there's all these
Well,
little things too, like defensively and all this other things where you have to be able to keep up. And even if you're not hitting a shot, I mean, you're still keeping up defensively. You're still keeping. You have the IQ, make certain cuts and things of that nature.
it just reads like
Yeah.
when I got done playing in the NBA, I got into squash for like 2 years. And I watched the professional because it was a way of like getting a workout. Like I drenched sweat, and it was like, man, this is great without having to hit people, right? And so I watched the guys at the top, the U.S. Open. Those guys are moving before the player hits the ball. And I'm sure like tennis is like that, racquetball. They're not waiting to see what happens. They're reacting to things that are happening before they actually happen. And that's what playing, I mean, I played high level basketball. Went to a high level college when I was 19 years old, and I was at that. I retired when I was 33. So you're talking about 14 years of some of the highest level basketball. If you can't anticipate or read what a player is going to do, then you're never going to be able to play at that level. So even though like I don't disagree. I'm not very athletic. I'm not quick or anything like that. But when a person does something, I know exactly. I've seen that move 10 million times from guys who are bigger, faster, stronger than you. So that's where the gap is. And by the way, when I was in the NBA, I lost a one-on-one game to a college kid, Brandon Roy. I lost a one-on-one game to a high school
Oh,
kid.
but come on, he was a
Yeah,
great
exactly.
NBA player though.
No. But I'm just telling you,
Minus the
like,
injury. So it's not
but I'm
like
telling you, I'm bringing up the fact that like there are probably
oh,
30
it's
high school
happened.
players in
Yeah.
America that could beat me right now. Right? Some of these guys are really, really good. It's just this guy happens to not be one of them.
Do you think after the pandemic's over and we're kind of through everything, think we're going to bring back the scallenge? Is this kind of a long-term play?
Well, when the challenge happened, I played 5 people one-on-one, and I don't know
Mhm.
if I can make it through 5 games anymore. Like I was fresh out. Like I might be able to do the challenge with 3, but I'm not going to win 11-0, 11-1, 11-0. Like that's not going to happen. It's going to be a lot closer if I'm playing 3 games against guys who are a little bit bigger and stronger. So I
Yeah.
mean, the challenge is probably, you know what? There'll be something else. Every 10 years, I do something that goes
Ooh.
viral. It wasn't even my plan. It's just how this whole thing works. So in 10 years from now, I'll probably do something else.
More than likely. Well, who knows? Maybe quicker. I mean, it's just one of those things where even you're one of the most everyone wants to kind of know what you're doing because I feel like everyone my age, like anywhere between like 21 to I don't even say 21, I'd say like 23, 22, it's like 35. Like we all love you. Like you're the guy, you're the people's player. Like you're
Yeah.
that guy. Which I do want to talk about that kind of stuff later. But actually, let's go straight into your NBA career. A lot early on, a lot of people I don't think realized you were like a rotation player for the New Jersey Nets when playing with Jason Kidd, and then you signed with the
Mhm.
Boston Celtics as kind of like a marquee signing for the bench. What was that kind of experience like, kind of going from kind of being a disappointing signing in Boston to becoming a fan favorite?
Yeah, so it was difficult. Those first 2 years was really difficult, and you know what? It made me realize, like, I was a lot better. Jason Kidd made me a lot better than I really was, right? And it starts to bring into light like circumstance. Like a player on this team can be really good. He goes to another team and he's like just doesn't fit, right? Like
Hmm.
me playing with Kidd, the confidence that you get, and let me kind of explain like the process of it. I get in the game, every time we get a stop, I bust my butt, I run the floor, and Jason Kidd gets me a wide open layup, right? You wouldn't think that it's just a layup. What does it do? Well, it builds confidence. And then the next thing you know, when I get that ball and I'm in the corner and now I got to let that ball go, I've already have one under my belt. Takes a little bit of pressure off that shot. Even if I miss that shot, I know that I could do something else. And it's like there's some momentum in that. And it didn't mean that sometimes I wouldn't get that easy layup and then I'd go out of the game and I wouldn't play extended minutes. But run the floor, get a layup, now all of a sudden knock down a three or make a nice pass or whatever, you kind of buy yourself minutes. Well, what I didn't understand when I first got to Boston was how important it is to play with like unreal point guard. And this is the first year I was there. There was no Rajon Rondo, and
Hmm.
the second year I was there, I tried to hitch on to Rondo as soon as I can because
Yeah.
I realized like this guy's special. His
Hmm.
rookie year, he's a special player. So it kind of went like that, and then we started losing, and it was disappointing. And we had a bunch of young guys, and the young guys, it was just playing with a team that went to the NBA Finals that was playing for a championship, and then playing with a team that's a bunch of young guys just trying to prove themselves. Like in the NBA, that's a completely different animal. And I'm one of those guys. Like even when we had the big three, and I would start in replace of a guy, Hall of Famer Kevin Garnett or Kendrick Perkins goes out of the game, and I would get inserted into the starting lineup. We would be humming on all cylinders because you're playing with elite players that know how to play. And when something happens, guy drives, the person's supposed to move. Like that's how it's supposed to play. And so my margin for error in the NBA is probably starts right at there. I'm playing with high level, high IQ guys. I'm going to do fine and I'm going to impact winning. You drop me low to a bunch of young guys that still trying to figure out, or guys that have like selfish intent, then I'm not going to be very good. And if I got drafted to a team that was young and like that, I probably would not be sitting here talking to you. I probably would not have played in the NBA. So there's a lot of circumstance, and I don't think that I'm the only one that fits into the bill here. I think 60 to 70% of the NBA kind of can fit into that bill. You see Mike James right now for the Brooklyn Nets. He was just overseas. He's made a big impact with the Nets since signing. And this guy was like playing overseas. If he didn't get kicked off his team in Russia, he wouldn't be on the Nets. And his life now might change because of that. So there's a lot of interchangeable parts in that lower 70%. So I kind of feel like I'm there. But once Kevin Garnett walked into that building and we had Ray Allen there, like everything was going to change. And I think immediately people saw like that's who I am supposed to be, like a ninth, 10th, 11th man on a team that's really good, that coaches can count on when guys go out.
And then you also had like, what was it? I saw it somewhere. Weren't you like a 65 when you were a starter? You had like a 65% win percentage.
Correct. Easy. It's really easy to play with. Like it's and me in particular, I
Yeah.
shine with players like that. And I think the reason I do, when I was in junior college, I was the third best player on the team. When I
Hmm.
was at USC, I was like probably never really the best player, even though I was the guy getting the most attention. But I was never like the guy. I've never been the guy. Even in high school, I was not the go-to guy. I was, the best player, but not where let's go get a bucket. That's not how I play it. And still today, when I go to pickup games, I don't play that way. I just don't. It's not in my nature. So I happen to be really good at playing off of stars. When I played with the Nets and Kenyon Martin would get suspended for knocking a guy out, I would start, we would win. When Kevin Garnett was out, I would start, we would win. And so and playing with Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, who are elite, Rajon Rondo, Jason Kidd, those guys who are elite at what they do, basketball is a lot easier for me when I'm playing with those guys.
Yeah. And so you kind of talked. I know you've talked about this before as well. You said like when you played with Doc Rivers, he would sit everyone down after a couple games and explain their role. Did he ever? So what was the thing he said to you? Because he'd go down, and he'd tell everyone their role, but he'd be like, "All right, we need some energy. Be ready," and then you just move
Yeah,
on to the
no,
next guy.
move the ball. Yeah, move the ball, let it fly. Like that's it. Like, you know, he had it. He didn't have to address that to me because at that point when we had those guys, I knew exactly what my role was. It wasn't
Yeah.
like I wasn't trying to showcase myself or anything like that. I knew exactly. You had to tell that meeting was probably for other people to say like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
oh yeah.
by the way, he told Kevin Garnett, we need more from you. I need you to be more aggressive offensively. You know, Ray Allen, you need to do this. And it was very interesting that he did that. But yeah, that conversation with me, it was 5 seconds moving on.
Well, I mean, it worked. I mean, you guys won a championship.
Exactly.
It's
Should have
speaking.
won 2.
Oh, it's okay. Hey, one's one. You can't win them
Yeah.
all. I mean, LeBron's
Yeah.
went to what, like 10 now, and not 9 or whatever. It's whatever. And then my next question kind of goes back to we kind of talked about Kevin Garnett, and I mean, you got inaugurated into the Hall of Fame, so I have to ask, what was your favorite Kevin Garnett story?
Oh man, it's the arm wrestling story. Somehow,
I
by
feel
the
like that
way,
comes up.
by the way, the 2008, 9, 10 season, those teams were certified. Like
Oh,
we
they
were
were unreal. They were so good.
oh, and but we were nuts though. Like we were nuts. It was the most competitive, high-strung environment you will ever be a part of. Like a lot of people just couldn't do it every single day. And that environment is like it's a gambling environment, so there's always stuff on the line. Guys shot for thousands of dollar free throws after the game, and guys would bet thousands of dollars on free throws in the game. Like you ain't gonna make this. Bet 1,000, you don't make 2. Bet
You
it.
know, Kobe went viral for doing that at one point, I think.
What's that?
I think Kobe went viral for literally telling someone 50 grand on this free throw right here.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like everything was one upped. You know, like if the card game started out at 100, 200, within a month it'd be 200, 400. Within a month it'd be 500, 700. Like it was just everything was exponentially growing, and you had to be on your point every single day. So the arm wrestling story is Big Baby. We started gambling on arm wrestling, and Big Baby is crushing people. Whack, whack. I mean, crushing people. Everyone wants to get in on the action. Money everywhere, Big Baby. So he's just like taking people's money. And all of a sudden, Kevin Garnett on some flight back from Toronto, he's like, Big Funk, let's go, me and you. So they sit down, they start their arm wrestling. Kevin Garnett does the rope-a-dope, doesn't move. I guess he said that Big Baby was using the table to use like leverage. And Big Baby is strong. I mean, he is strong. So Garnett's like, I ain't moving. Big Baby starts sweating. He started going. Bam, he nails it. He stands up. He's yelling, spitting all over the place, sweating all over the place. Like, I'm the alpha male in this mother blanker. Don't y'all ever forget it. Everyone going nuts. The only guy that bet on Kevin Garnett, we all thought he was going to lose, and we all took action against him except for Paul Pierce. And even Paul Pierce said, I thought he was going to lose, but I didn't want to leave my boy out. So it was worth it for me to put $10,000 on my boy. So you know, he knows I have his back. And anyway, Paul Pierce is like collecting the money. He's like counting it. Everyone's like going nuts. Like, I mean, this is up 35,000 feet at 1:00 in the morning after, you know, a game against the Toronto Raptors. So it's just, that's an environment in which you had to survive. And Garnett was like, he was above all that, except for that one day he came down and he, amongst the people to do the arm wrestling stuff. So it was, it's just a testament of his will. He would never he used to tell me, if I get in a fight, you have to kill me because I'll never give up on it. I don't care if I get knocked out. You literally have to kill me because I'll never stop coming. And I was like, man, that's crazy. Like the guy was so intense, but he cared about everybody else. It's so deserving that he made the Hall of Fame, and like all the work and the type of person he is. He treats his teammates like family. He's an unbelievable person.
Yeah, he's definitely had that. He's a different breed of an athlete and different breed of competitor. It was incredible. It was awesome. Like for every game, banging his head against the stanchion.
Yeah,
he was an animal. And so kind of going back to Hall of Fame too. You're a White Mamba, and the Black Mamba, rest in peace, was inaugurated into the Hall of Fame. You said at one point he did validate you as the White Mamba. Like, what was that whole experience?
Yeah, well, it was just on Twitter.
It was on Twitter?
Like I came out and said the White Mamba held out longer than the Black Mamba because he said, I think he came out in the tweet, the antisocial is now social. I'm now going to do it. Then I came out 2 days later. The White Mamba held out longer than the Black Mamba. He's like, well, he goes, welcome to Twitter, White Mamba. That day, my followers were, I ran around like 6,000.
Yeah.
Like he did that and went up to like 40,000 in like 4 hours. It was crazy. And so but yeah, I mean the whole like White Mamba thing was all it just started with Stacey King. And I wasn't trying to be like mean to Kobe or anything like that or
Oh
like,
yeah.
but
Oh
it
yeah.
was
Yeah.
but Stacey King like went with it, and then I kind of went with it. So it's one of those things. But but one thing you remember about Kobe is like I don't think in my generation, or we went against a lot of players. I don't think I ever went against a competitor like that. He was so like you could tell, man, his eyes were different. And in 2010, that's when it was really different. In '08, it was like, what am I gonna do to win? Like in 2010, when we played him, I think in his mind, it was sort of like life on the line. Like I gotta win this thing no matter what. I'm. It's not a question of if I'm when I'm going to win or if I'm going to win. It's how am I going to win this? And he went from like a different player. Every game he was a different player. Every game he gave what the game needed to get over that hump. And I thought in '08, like he kept looking and searching and he couldn't find any way to win. But in 2010, not only did he motivate himself, but he motivated everybody else on the team.
Oh yeah. And then I know in one of those finals, I forget which year it was, there was one moment like right before halftime, no one could clamp up Lamar Odom. Kevin Garnett couldn't, no one else could. And they throw you in the game and you clamp up Lamar Odom right before halftime. What
Yeah,
kind of can you explain what happened there?
yeah. So Kendrick Perkins tears his ACL. So I
Hmm.
haven't played in months. And Lamar Odom at the end of the quarters, they've been, like to play the 2-for-1, or he's been killing Big Baby. He didn't really kill Garnett, but they wanted to keep Garnett off of Lamar at the end of quarters because of this particular play.
Okay.
So it was Big Baby, Sheldon Williams, Rasheed Wallace, like all those guys really struggle with Lamar in the open court because, first of all, left-handed players are hard to guard. They're just the way they move and the way that they bring that ball away from their bodies to get layups. Like a right-handed player brings the ball here, but a left-handed player is really good at putting that ball away from their bodies. So you get downhill and he killed us. So like I called up Rob McClanahan, and he was working out pre-draft guys during that time because it's right next to the NBA draft. He was working out in LA. So I called him during the finals and said, I want to get some run in, man. I got to get ready because I might play tomorrow. And by the way, I know it sounds crazy, and it is crazy, but in my mind, every DMP I got, I went into the game thinking I'm going to play. Every single one of them.
Mhm.
There was not a game when I prepared for, unless they told me beforehand that you're not going to be active, right? But I went in every day like I'm going to
Yeah.
play. So that game, it's NBA Finals Game 7. He looked at me. Rob McClanahan looked at me sideways, like, you ain't going to get in the game. You ain't played in months. This is Game 7 NBA Finals. It's like, no, I have a feeling. So I go and I work out, and like D Rose is there, and Russell Westbrook is there, and I'm trying to work on my footwork because you can work on your game, but you can't, like, if you're not playing in
Yeah.
games, you can't slide your feet. Like you don't walk around your house moving laterally. You just don't, right? So that's the thing that I knew. Like, I got to be able to move my feet to be able to guard. If I'm not going to guard, I can't play in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, right? So I got with some guys. We played a little bit of ones. I was working on my footwork, and I was ready, man. I was ready. I was confident. Had a good practice the night before, and when he put me in, I was not at all shocked. I was like, actually, almost in a way of like, this is a perfect time to put me in the game. And then he was like, "Scout, get in there." So,
Yeah.
and like, I knew Doc, and I knew how he worked, and yeah, man, I was prepared. Obviously, I watched the film. Obviously, he killed us over and over again on that particular possession, and I had a good defensive possession. If I could have just made one shot, the legend would have grown. It would have been like something like I
Oh,
had
it would
20
have
in Game
been
7.
incredible.
One shot.
And then in like 20 years, like, yeah, I scored 30 in game
Exactly.
7 of the finals. It was
Exactly.
incredible.
Get get like an MVP vote for making one shot.
Honestly, probably would have. The legend was already growing at that point.
But
Um,
if I would have
so
made
it
one
was,
shot, I could have bought some more. Like, it's all like about buying time, right? I make one shot, I buy
yeah,
myself another 2 minutes. Okay, what happens in that 2 minutes? Maybe I make another shot. Like, it's
yeah,
when you're a bench player, you have to understand. And I told Kyle Korver this when I was in Chicago. He looks at it like I got to make my first shot. I go, actually, you don't. You have 3 shots to make one, and then you have 2 more to make 2, and then you have 1 more to make the third. So it ends up being somewhere around 3 for 6, 3 for 7. But don't look at it. You got 1 shot. You got to get 3 shots up, and all you got to do is make 1. And once I told him that, he was like, yeah, that's good. I'm going to think of it like that from here on out. But that's how you got to think as a bench player, because you're not gifted anything. A starter can go over 8, and they're still going to play. A bench player, you got to make an impact when you come in.
Yeah, because if you don't, then the coach loses trust in you, and then you're running the bench, so you're going to try to ride somebody else and see if they can get it going.
For sure, for sure.
And so one more question about your whole nicknames is, I know you really liked Vanilla Godzilla.
I do.
When were you ever called the? When were you called the Vanilla Godzilla, and how did that
in
not
Boston?
catch on?
They made shirts.
It was in Boston?
So I was the Ginger Ninja, which I like. I like Ginger Ninja. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
Vanilla
like
Godzilla. The Gingerbread Man. I like that one too. But all these were all made in the shirt. Like here in Boston, you got to understand how it works, right? People love nicknames. So anytime a nickname comes out, bam, 500 shirts hit the streets, right? And like it'd be weird. Like I'll walk around and still to this day, I'll find someone wearing like the Gingerbread Man with me, like holding the basketball, right? So just some shirts that came out that never hit rotation. But anytime something you're called anything, it comes fire, and then either it sticks or it doesn't. So those are all the things that have caught fire for a certain amount of time. And then I'll do a radio interview and they'll call me Vanilla Godzilla, and then it'll move on or it'll stick. The White Mamba, the reason why that stuck is because Stacey King drove it home. And in Chicago, they made the shirts, and it just like grew like wildfire. Yeah. It wasn't like hot for a hot second. Like the White Mamba stayed hot for a while, and I'll tell you why. That Bulls team, we spanked teams. So I got a chance to go into the game over and over again. So if they call me the Vanilla Godzilla and I don't play for the next month, Vanilla Godzilla is dead. You know what I mean? But the White Mamba, I think we just kept blowing teams out. So I kept getting in the game, and Stacey King kept calling me the White Mamba. So that's how it really caught.
That's awesome. So, and the one question I do like to a lot of the former athletes, and this is kind of going back to you talking about the big three and talking about how in the Scalabrine you can't take on 5 people anymore. How has working out and like playing basketball changed from when you were like, let's say 23 to now?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is initial prep. Like you have to do mobility. You know, like I'm sitting in my room right now. I have a radio show. I got 2 Eric's pads over here. I got a calf stretcher over here. I got.
Do you got like the thermogenic gun?
I got a thermogenic. I can't use that during the show because it makes noise, but I got like an RA roller right here. So my preparation has to be on point every single day. I have, I got to do all of my mobility. So the thing is, I've been working with weights, and it gets me stronger, but it doesn't prepare me to play. So lately I switched to kettlebells and doing all the programs, and I got a bunch of programs from Living.Fit, and it's been great because I could pull a few of the programs if I want to work on flow or strength or strength and athleticism, and then I usually finish up with sometime later on the night kind of like a turbo fat loss to keep my conditioning, because I can't just like log miles anymore. I can't go and play basketball 5 days a week and get in shape on the court, right? So everything has to be locked in. Aerodyne bike, battling ropes. I got to do those. So that's how my training has changed. How hard can I work without, reducing the impact? I use, like the hockey players, they use slide boards. I use slide boards, very low impact. So I'm doing things like that, but I'm still trying to, stay in the best shape as I possibly can. It's not easy. It's a challenge, much more challenging than when I played in the NBA. But, when I played in the NBA, I use bells a lot. I use a lot of kettlebells because I always felt like the inertia of the weight going down and pulling and like embracing yourself was very similar to like a guy backing into you. So I really liked like just handling bells, and I feel like it gets you ready to play basketball. Like I have kids, and I'm teaching them at a really young age just to be able to handle bells and be able to, to control the weight. Because I do think that if you're going to play contact sports, you definitely got to like be big and strong, no question. But to absorb contact, I don't think anything does as good of a job as the kettlebells.
They're definitely. I think those are they're definitely top notch in terms of like being an athlete now, just because they're so dynamic in the way they're
For
always
sure.
moving. You're always it's all about like it's different than like with a dumbbell or a barbell where it's kind of the barbells are pretty stabilized, dumbbells are kind of more stabilized, but kettlebells are kind of all over the place and kind of the unique grips. It kind of helps build your core, makes you more the stabilizers and all that. It's really great for these professional athletes. And so for you, you played in the NBA at the early 2000s. You played until about early to mid 2010s. And I feel like during that time span, a lot of nutrition and fitness changed a lot. So, like, what was something that changed from the very beginning of your career to probably towards the tail end of your career?
Yeah. So it started out, I did a lot of heavy weights, which
Yeah.
my body really responded well.
Well, we all
Dead
do when we're that
squats,
age.
what's that?
We all do when we're that age. We all bench,
Yeah, yeah. My
squat, do
body
all
responded really
those.
well.
Yeah.
Deads, squats, front squats, cleans, snatch. Like my body really, and remember, I at a young age, I can lift for performance at
Hmm.
20, 21, 22, all the way up until like 28, 29. I can lift for trying to become as athletic as I possibly can. And then as I got older, like in Boston, the trainer, for whatever reason, and I think he does a great job. I'm not like knocking it, but it wasn't good for me. It was a lot of, one leg stability, using like pulls. So it wasn't, you weren't moving a lot of weight. There wasn't like that hormonal response that I got when I was moving, heavy weight through space. And then when I went to Chicago, I wasn't playing a lot, so I was allowed to get back into the deads, the fronts, the snatches, the cleans, and they were all in on that. And once again, my body responded really well to that. But when I was in Boston, when I wasn't loving the training from the trainer, and like I said, I'm not trying to like go at those guys, not at all. I think what they do is really good, but it just wasn't what I needed. That's when I switched to doing kettlebells, and I had good growth with the bells and when I was in Boston. And now I just use it as, like supplementary lifts and until now, which I'm using it as my core stuff. But the problem that people have to understand is like it's okay to start light. It's okay to start to like build your core, like bulletproof your core early. And then like wait there, if you feel like, oh man, that's tough on my back, just lighten it up, and eventually like those stabilizers will get you strong, and then you'll be able to do big weight. But everybody wants to do big weight right off the jump, and then it's like, I don't really like this. No, man, just like start out nice and easy. And I'm sort of like I'm a big RKC guy, and they're a big grease the groove, so it's not crazy for me nowadays to lift in the morning and go through my movements again, lightweight at night again, just to kind of like like build up that core. My whole point now of bells is like bulletproof my core. I want to be able to play and not like feel sore in my back or anything like that. And I think the bells do that.
Hmm. Well, that's awesome. So, like, another thing too is I mean, you're a basketball player, so you always have to go out and shoot around. How often do you like go shoot? How often do you go to the court? How often do you go outside and go shoot on your backdoor net?
So I probably play basketball 4 days a week. I do a high level scrimmage and I time it 45 minutes. So I get everyone there, everyone's ready. I separate the teams. We put the names on the board and we just clip off wins, right? And I limit myself to 45 minutes. And if I win 3 games in a row, I'll take my team off. I'll put 2 teams on, then I'll come back. So it's really scientific. I don't mess around. There's no dead time in between games. Everything is quick because I've done that before, and there's no arguing over fouls. Like we're working. So I do that once a week. I play and like work on my game. I probably do that twice a week, and then sometimes before or
Mm,
after a weight workout, like you said, go in the yard and just work on my shot and work on my mechanics. I do that once a week. So that's kind of how it all unfolds. But as far as like hitting the weights, hitting the bike, doing something, hitting the slide board, the bells, I'm pretty much doing it every day. And an off day for me would be like hard mobility or just cardio, like I said, with the bike or the slide board, sometimes twice a day. And I just think you get more, to me personally, I get more out of 2 workout sessions where I can go light and ease into things than just going one balls to the wall for 25 minutes. I kind of break it up into two
mm.
sections, one at 20, one at 30 minutes.
The biggest trick too is just like in terms of fitness and things is also making it enjoyable for yourself. Like if you don't want to kill yourself for 25 minutes too, and that's easier for you and more fun to do it for two different sessions, like makes it 1,000 times easier. Cause that's like half the trick is like tricking your mind to thinking, oh, I really like doing this. And so that's something I've always found fascinating. But and something I've kind of picked up on. Do you think you work out more now than you did when you were younger, or do you think that it's kind of the same based on all the time you spent on the court and all the time you spent like in the training room and all that kind of stuff?
So weight wise, yes. Basketball wise, not
Oh
even
yeah, I
close.
assume not even close on that. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. But weight wise, yeah, I probably do more stuff on more time on mobility. Like I said, I literally just got off my 3 hour radio show. And during that
Yeah.
3 hours, I bet you an hour and a half of it, I'm doing rock backs, I'm opening up, like I'm doing things during my show to stay mobile. Which funny,
Yeah.
I used to do a podcast visually, and an hour of just sitting here, day in and day out versus 3 hours of doing my mobility because it's just headset. I night and day how my body feels. So, like for all you people that get a little bit older, you got to just if you can move. As you guys notice, I I showed you earlier. I have the standing desk, right? So sometimes the desk
Mhm.
is up, sometimes the desk is down. So I want to stay as mobile as I possibly can, stretch my feet as much as I can. So I spend a lot of time doing mobility. When I watch TV now, I'm like watching TV in kind of that frog rock back position, So I'm always doing mobility and
Mhm.
stretching because if I don't, my body would just get so tight. So when I was a kid, I just sit back
Wow.
and
Yeah.
lay in the bed and I'd be fine, but not anymore.
I'm still at that age. I have a little bit more time left of being able to kind of do whatever.
Yeah.
So I kind of was kind of motion back into the NBA. What a lot of people don't know about you is that you are from California. You're not from Boston. When do you consider yourself a masshole, or do you consider yourself still a Californian?
No. So let's dive into that. So yeah, I'm definitely a Boston guy. Like I'm definitely a masshole. Like no question about it. I've lived here long enough and I played with the Nets and then I came up here. So like the East Coast is like a different animal. Where are you at right now?
I'm in Indianapolis.
Indy. Yeah, Indy has a different feel than out here too. Really nice people out there though, the nicest
Yes.
people. But
I
but
appreciate
out
it.
here they're not as nice, which is like kind of cool. I kind of like it, right? Not all the time, but it's cool, right? And everyone treats me really good. But
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, I'm more an East Coast guy. Even when I'm out west, I don't fit in that well anymore. Even though I went to school at USC and everything like that, I don't fit in as well out west. The thing that gets me more than anything is passive aggressive behavior. And it doesn't mean that everybody out west is passive aggressive and no one out here is passive aggressive, but it's just like the percentages, right? There's a lot of passive aggressive behavior out west and most people here are just super in your face and they'll flip you off when they drive and they swerve and everything like that. And everyone there is like so like, oh man, I can't believe you would cut me off and whatever, right? So I'm probably more of an East Coast guy now and I'll probably be here. I mean, I do the TV for the Celtics. I don't know if I'll ever move when you get a gig like that. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I consider myself a
Oh yeah.
masshole.
Hey, I don't blame you. And the reason I bring that up, and you might now know why I'm asking, is I did say I'm from Indiana. And a couple months ago, everyone in Indiana's hearts were broken. We lost our favorite child. Brad Stevens called himself a masshole.
Oh,
Um, I just this is my only question I have about it. I don't care that he said no. Can you tell me he at least considered it for like 1 minute? Just 1 minute. That's all I need for a victory.
so the thing is, no one leaves the NBA for college. And I look, I know
Yeah.
Brad really well. Like his son will work out with me all
Hmm.
summer this summer, and the one thing that Brad doesn't want to get into, I think, is getting back into the shady recruiting game. That's a business that you don't like.
Yeah.
Why do you want to get into that? Why do you want to get into going to high school gyms and telling these players? Now, remember, when he was at Butler, it was perfect because he was getting like the undervalued player, and those guys are great to work with.
Yeah.
Initially, right? Getting like when you're at Indiana, you're getting McDonald's All Americans. And like, not saying it's always like this.
Mhm.
I'm sure there's a lot of good good McDonald's All-Americans that have the greatest of intent and everything like that. But Brad's rah team first, all this other stuff might not work in Indiana, and recruiting those people, that might be a different animal. And why would you want to subject yourself to that for the same money or even less money in the NBA and the lifestyle that he just wants to coach basketball? So I think the reason why he didn't consider it is the recruiting. I've talked to him in the past. He loves the NCAA Final Four. He loves being on campus with his team. He loves having dinner with the young players and showing these kids how good they can be and work and making Gordon Hayward a better player. He loves all that. Hates recruiting. Hates it. Hates going to high school gyms, hates listening to AAU coaches, hates listening that he hates all of that. So I think that immediately is like, I don't want to do that. And we all have like things in our lives. Like Brad loves to coach and don't think they're the same. Recruiting is a different animal than coaching. He loves to coach, hates to recruit. So you can't go to Indiana and hate to recruit and think it's all going to work out for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think IU's fine. Mike Woodson's going to be awesome, and they
built
an awesome staff around him to help him get into college. So no, it's a question I have to ask. I got the Celtics guy. I'm an IU alum. Kind of have to ask.
Now, let me ask you.
Now it's kind of getting into.
Let me ask you about that. Did you think he would?
I didn't think he would, but I thought he'd consider it. And after hearing the 7-year, $70 million contract from Woj, I'm like, he had to think about it for at least like a couple, like maybe an hour. He's like, that is a lot of money.
Recruiting, man. Recruiting. I don't know what part of your job do you hate the most, and you would have to do that all the time. He hates recruiting, hates it.
I have no idea what I would say I'd hate. I'd probably say just as much as I love editing videos and stuff, I absolutely hate just like how long it takes. It's just so tedious.
Yeah,
it's such a pain.
There you go.
It's such a pain in the ass.
You don't have to edit videos in the NBA.
Oh, sign me up.
Yeah.
Love to be in the NBA. So let's kind of move into the playoffs. I mean, this is going to air probably middle of the postseason. We have this new format. Kind of hurt your team, and what's your expectations for kind of how the league views it and how successful it might be? Because I think the Warriors Lakers matchup is primetime TV. You cannot ask for a better matchup.
Yeah, I think it's good because you basically had some teams that were trying to get in, you had some teams that were trying to get out, and you had some teams that were trying to stay out. So anytime you're lighting a fire under NBA players at the end of a season, it's a good thing. Like having like Steph Curry and Ja. So this is happening the day after. This is the Monday where we're not going to play. The games start tomorrow. So Steph Curry and Ja Morant.
Little gap.
Yeah, Steph Curry and Ja Morant playing to get that one and in game. It had some juice to it. If not, I don't know how that game would have played out the other night. So it's just like the game had some juice, and now I think it's good. Like my biggest thing now, you heard Vanessa Bryant's speech about Kobe wanting to play every game because someone saved up their money to see him, right? Like I don't feel like the NBA players today are motivated by the regular season. So I'm on this big kick. I'm on this big thing right now. Like, let's make the regular season as meaningful as possible, right? For instance, like Steph Curry last night is the scoring champ. He won it by average, right? I have a new theory. I think we should use total points in the season. How much points do you score for your team? If you score 2,000 and the next guy scores 1,900, you win the scoring title. And not only that, but I think that a sponsor like Pepsi or Sprite or whoever, Gatorade, whoever, should hand a trophy and $1 million that you can maybe, if you want, share with your team. And it doesn't have anything to do with the cap, right? I think the same thing for assists. I think the same thing for rebound. And you use the total amount. I think you'll get players, instead of not wanting to mess up their average, I think you'll get players play like, hey, I wasn't going to play tonight, but I'm going to play 20 minutes, and I'm going to go out there and cook. So a fan who paid that money to watch that player is really not playing because he doesn't want to mess up his average. If you make it total, then everyone's like trying to add up those points. Like I want to be top 10 in scoring, and it's totals. So that's my big kick now. And I think this play-in tournament is definitely, it lends towards the regular season mattering more.
I think that's actually a really great idea. That's actually the first time I've heard someone mention that, and I think that is brilliant. I think that's awesome to get people who, and then if you have like a lower tier team, say a team who's not even gonna make the playoffs, and you have a guy competing for that, that's a reason to go watch that game rather than just like, hey, we're out of the playoffs, who cares? So I think no, I think
Correct.
that's a great idea. And so again, let's kind of go into the playoffs. Um, what's kind of your hottest take? What's the hottest take you got? That's not the Celtics going to the finals.
Well, no, that ain't gonna. I ain't gonna say that. But I would say, like, obviously the Lakers Warrior game is going to have a ton of juice, and it's
Yeah,
it's really odd that the Lakers are going to win or lose this game and then get into the playoffs, and probably for the first time ever they'll be the favorite. A 7th seed or an 8th seed will be a favorite to win the first round. If you look at it's really interesting. Like if the Celtics were to beat Washington, you might have on one side of the bracket, if you look at the East, right? You might have Milwaukee, who's title contender, Brooklyn, probably the best team in the
hmm
East, Boston, and Miami, all on one side, and you have Philly on the other side. And like no disrespect to Atlanta or the Knicks, who have no playoff experience, or even Washington, getting in or whatever. If that's how it plays out, you have like some of the top teams all on one side just battling it out. I think that's really cool. And then can the team basketball of like the Jazz overtake like the individual play of LeBron or Steph? So there's a lot of cool things, a lot of cool stories to look at in this NBA playoffs.
well, it's definitely be interesting, and then you also see teams like certain teams put more put emphasis on the regular season to get better seeding. And in the past, it's kind of seemed like there's teams who kind of just like, as long as we get to the playoffs and have a decent seed, I mean, we're going to be fine. Like had the Bucks, they used to be one of those teams that really cared about the regular season. This year, it seemed like they were, hey, you know what? Once we get to playoffs, we'll kick it up. It's
Yeah,
going to be interesting to see if one of those other teams actually get it to work, because it seems like a lot of the teams who did the usual regular season, who cares? Um, they're actually not in the best position right now. A lot of injuries have happened, a lot of and things of that nature. Or maybe they're not hot at the right time. Maybe
yeah.
this is the year you see like a Jazz or maybe even the Phoenix Suns make the finals. Because I mean, originally I thought it was going to be the Nuggets until they lost Jamal Murray. Because that team, when they got Aaron Gordon, they were good. They were really
I
good.
agree. I like the Nuggets as a sleeper, but without Jamal Murray, they're going to have to need that guy. Like Jokic is going to win the MVP, which is another thing that's really interesting. I think is the players. I haven't seen one NBA player outside of the Denver Nuggets that has mentioned Nikola Jokic as the odds-on favorite to win MVP. Just last night, LeBron like stamped Steph Curry as the MVP, but like Jokic is going to clearly win it. And I think the NBA player has war on the media because the NBA player knows that the media loves Nikola Jokic, and they know that
Yeah.
the NBA media is going to vote for Nikola Jokic.
Uh huh.
I think the NBA player, because when Steph Curry was the media darling, the NBA player didn't like him either. Now
Yeah.
it's Nikola Jokic, and the NBA player doesn't like it. Everyone thought like this year they were like, oh, they just because it's a white guy from Europe. I'm like, I don't think that's what it is. It's always whoever the media is stamping the players are always hesitant to offer that unless the media is stamping LeBron James and obviously or a guy who's already done it. But a new guy comes around, the media stamps that guy as the MVP. The players are going to take a year or two before they embrace that.
Kind of like when Giannis won his first MVP. I think there was always kind of those things where everyone's like, LeBron's the best player in the NBA. He should be winning the MVP every year, but it's one of those things where the media kind of needs a new narrative every year, and they kind of give the MVP to someone else. I mean, this year
Correct.
LeBron's been hurt, so it's something he can't win the MVP. But I feel like that's always kind of been the issue, is everyone's kind of thinking to themselves, LeBron, it's LeBron, like he is the guy, but we need someone new, which is kind of
Yeah. Well,
unfortunate. But I
well,
mean, that's what you get with the best, one of the top players of all time.
well. When you look at the numbers, like when you look at the numbers last year, like Giannis had the biggest impact. So the media
Oh
will
yeah,
sometimes and people will vote the LeBron because he's LeBron and the narrative vote. But like this year, Jokic had the biggest impact. When Jokic is off the floor, and you could bring this up with Steph Curry too. When both those guys are off the floor, the team is terrible. But Jokic is a 3rd seed and Steph
hmm
Curry's an 8th seed. So if let's just
yeah.
reverse the roles, if Steph Curry right now was the 3rd seed and Jokic was the 8th seed, like would it be unanimous? Everybody would vote for Steph. But because it's flipped, all of a sudden it's a conversation. Like I said, agree. I don't disagree. Like you can't give it to LeBron this year because he's been hurt, but like LeBron obviously is the best player in the NBA year in and year out, but like that's not what the MVP is. It's like the most valuable that year. And I do agree that they get a little voter fatigue and they want to give it out to different people. And Jordan had to go through that as well. They could have gave it to Michael Jordan every single year he played.
And Kobe went through the same exact thing. Kobe didn't got like that one MVP later on in his career. It was one of those things where everyone's like, you know what, we haven't given Kobe an MVP yet. It's kind of we're gonna go ahead and do that. I feel like Russell Wilson kind of had that experience last year until he started throwing interceptions and they kind of fell off. It's kind of like there's always this one guy who never gets that MVP. Like we got to give it to him at some point, right?
Yeah, kind of like a lifetime achievement award.
Yeah, exactly. And so kind of so another matchup I think is interesting to see is kind of how in the East it is kind of wide open, and it's but the Nets are also, they're seen as the best team in the East, but they haven't had a whole lot of playing time together. But in that small sample size, it looks like they are maybe title favorites. Do you think it's Nets versus the entire East, or do you think it's maybe the field?
Yeah, I mean, if they're healthy, I don't know. Like you can never. I don't know if they're going to be healthy. If they're healthy, I don't know how you beat those guys, man. They're just too good, and like they all pass the ball. And Kevin Durant and James Harden, as good as Kyrie has been this year, and he's been special, no question about it. Those two guys are on different levels when it comes to basketball and the way that they do it. So, like those three players are so elite at what they do, and they shouldn't be. If quote unquote they're healthy, right? Then they also shouldn't be worn out because they all have missed over 20 games. Kevin Durant missed almost 40 games or this year. Almost 30 games this year. So like these guys they're going to be, not only are they good and they're not worn out, and if they're not injured, I don't see how you beat those guys. And they have good shooting around them. So it's going to be the Nets' title to lose.
Oh yeah, I think it is too, and it's going to be fun to see these series because I think the Heat are peaking at the right time too, and everyone kind of wrote them off. I mean, they've got so many wins in a row. I don't know if they're going into a winning streak going into the playoffs, but I mean they look really hot too, and they can make a run. I think this is one of the years where the playoffs in general are just wide open, and it's awesome. It's kind of like last year where it's kind of wide open, and it's really fun to see. And I think this is the best spot the NBA could be in. And it's
the two
awesome.
best passing teams this year are the Heat and the Jazz. Those are the two best passing teams. The best passers are Jokic and LeBron. So it's and probably Harden will be up there, Westbrook as well. So is it going to be the best passing teams that move on, or is it going to be like the best individual players that move on? In the past we've seen individual players usually is how you win, but it does seem like the passing teams like the Miami Heat and the Utah Jazz, or even you could throw the Bucks, even though I don't think they're great. I think they're good. Like those teams might have playoff success because of the way that they move the ball. But no question last year with Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero and Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler, all getting passes from Bam Adebayo and then moving the ball around, those guys became really difficult to stop.
Oh yeah, it was fun to watch. I mean, I hated the Heat because they beat the crap out of the Pacers, but you know what? I mean, they were fun to watch. And so last thing I kind of want to talk about is who maybe the most fun team in the NBA is to watch. And why is it the Hornets?
So they were when they were all healthy, right? When they were all healthy, when they had Gordon Hayward, LaMelo Ball, and like everyone was playing their role. They played like a college team. They never blew people out. They never got blown out. They stayed in every game. They kind of 2-2-1, full court press, all that stuff. But it's amazing in the NBA when one player goes out, how you could see like a void. And now they went from a team that, how you going to stop these guys? They move the ball around and everyone can attack, to like, man, now LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham, those guys all got to do a little too much. But the Hornets, because they're fun, they're athletic. Like I said, they play like a college team, but they do need, like, if they had Gordon Hayward, I do believe that they would have a good chance of making the playoffs. But you're going to need a guy with some experience. And Terry Rozier is a good player, but you just need, I would think they just need one more guy. I do watch. They're not the funnest team to watch. They what I call my league pass team. So there's national TV games, like when I watch the Nets play, right? Or anytime I get a chance to watch LeBron or Jokic.
Yeah.
Those are my national TV games. My favorite league pass team is the Hornets, because I know I could sit next to with my son. We can watch the game, and I could teach him like point after point after point of things that they're doing because they don't play like a typical NBA team.
No, they don't. And it's awesome. It's just dunks all over the place, just threes and dunks. It's all over the place. It's so much fun. And the big
Yeah.
reason I'm bringing that up is I spent a weekend with some of my friends, and one guy is in love with LaMelo Ball, and he wants me to ask you, is LaMelo Ball the rookie of the year?
No. He didn't
I
play.
think
He
it's
missed too
Anthony
many
Edwards.
games. You know where I
Yeah.
stand. Does he deserve it? Yeah. But I'm not giving any awards to people missing 20% of the season. I'm not. So if you miss,
And I agree 100%.
nah, I'm not. I'm giving it to Anthony Edwards. He's played in more games. He's been really good. And I know LaMelo is probably a more impactful player, but I'm not doing the. I'm big this year because of the NBA and the players sitting out of games. I'm big moving forward in like go look at total points. Look at Anthony Edwards' total points, rebounds, assists, and LaMelo Ball's points, rebounds, assists total. And you would be like, okay, Anthony Edwards it deserves it more. I'm not doing the averages anymore. I'm doing games played. I want my players to play.
He's going to be really mad because I said you're going to pick Anthony Edwards. So
I love
it works
Anthony
out.
Edwards.
We were both
Yeah.
right. Oh, he's so good. He's so much fun for the league. He's going to be so much fun as he continues to grow.
Yeah.
And that Wolves team too. Now that they're all fully healthy, D'Lo's got back. Like they got pretty good towards the back end of that season. They got
I
kind
ain't
of
buying
hot,
the Wolves.
which is going to be fun.
I think the Wolves are going to be in the trade market this year. We'll see what happens. It depends on what happens with their pick.
Yeah, that's true too. It's going to be interesting. And so before I let you go, this is the last question. You can hear this forever. Is what is your finals pick?
Oh, I'm
Who
taking
is your 2 teams? Don't have to pick a winner.
Yeah.
Just the 2 teams.
So I think I'm going to take the Milwaukee Bucks out of the East with a road like this.
Okay.
This is nuts, by the way. If they go to the finals, they will beat Miami, Brooklyn, probably, and then Philadelphia. That's a tough road. So I think the Bucks are my East team. I just think Holiday makes a big difference. He's so underrated.
Oh,
And then my
he's the
West
most
team,
underrated player in the league.
oh, by far. So my West team. Yes, I really wanted to pick the Clippers, but I watched them play, and the fact that they kind of like lost that game on purpose so they wouldn't have to play the LA Lakers, I was a little disappointed that they didn't want that matchup. So I have to come up. I guess I'll take the Jazz. I like the Jazz.
You wanted to take the Clippers so bad.
I did want to take. I was so turned off by them losing on purpose to Oklahoma City to avoid the Lakers. Like think about the Milwaukee Bucks. They beat Miami to put Miami in the 6th seed. If they would have lost that game, Miami would have been a 5th seed. Milwaukee would have avoided Miami. Then it would have been then the Philadelphia would have played Miami. You don't have to play both of them. But the Bucks went out there like, we ain't scared of nobody. We're going to win this game. Okay.
Love it.
So they
Love
do that.
Energy.
I don't understand why the Clippers are trying to duck the Lakers. I just don't. They lost to Oklahoma City on. I'm sorry?
I said too much analytics.
It's too get it just play. Just play, beat OKC, and then play the Lakers when you play. However it matches up. But I think they did that on purpose, and I'm kind of turned off by that. So I'll take the Jazz. They move the ball.
Take the Jazz? Do you think the Suns make it out of the first round?
Are they playing LeBron? They're not beating LeBron, dude. If LeBron's healthy, they're not beating him. They're not beating. You got to have. They don't have
his ankle though last night.
Yeah, okay. If LeBron's healthy, this is how you beat LeBron. You have 5 guys on your roster that you feel comfortable guarding LeBron. 5, not 2, not 1. 5 guys. That's how you beat LeBron. If you don't have 5 guys, or you're not just loaded offensively, they just don't, man. They just don't. He's going to pick on – you got to have enough players on the floor that he can't just pick on one matchup. Because if he does, you're screwed. Look at the Heat. You just picked on Duncan Robinson all night. Tyler Hero, come here. Let me take you to the post. You got to have multiple guys. The Clippers have the most players to guard LeBron. They have like 4 guys that can guard him. You got to have bodies upon bodies to throw at LeBron. And you got to hope that you could stretch the series out to 7 games. You can't do that. You don't wear him out. You don't have multiple bodies to throw at him. You're not going to beat him.
Not at all. So, with that being said, that kind of wraps us up. Scal, you are going to be the second person released in our whole series. So that means every time I want you to come on, you have to come on now. You're now
That's
for a
fine.
forever guest.
That's fine. We can do these. We
Awesome.
can do these. Like we could do weekly updates for the NBA. 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. Let's go. It's easy for the
I love it.
playoffs.
Let's
Make
do
it
it. Let's
happen.
do it. I love
Let's
that.
do it.
Hell yeah, let's
Make,
do it. Let's
let's
do
make it
it.
happen.
So let's make it happen. So with that being said, Brian Scalabrine, really appreciate it. You're like a bucket list interview, and this was incredible. With that being said, for Living.Fit, and on the line, we're out. Peace.